Investment fees in retail and industry super funds vary significantly. Even funds considered to be low fee can have high investment fees depending on your investment choices. Investment fees can be as high as 1% or more of your entire super fund balance each year, even if the fund is so-called low fee. It really is a good question to ask. How do I invest my superannuation in my current fund? Almost all retail and industry funds allow you to pick a set range of pre-mixed investments in their standard offering, which looks similar but can vary significantly. If you have looked into your super recently, you would know that your super fund fee structure consists of three main types, which are the admin fee, the insurance fee, and the investment fee. The admin fee is paid to the super fund and is intended to cover the cost of operating the fund for its members. If you are in an industry fund or any other not-for-profit fund, then these fees should already be low. The other factor that keeps admin fees low is the size of the fund you're in. This is because the larger funds can service more members with fewer resources, making their operations more efficient, and they often pass on these savings to their members. The insurance fee, on the other hand, will vary significantly between members due to many variables and individual circumstances like health conditions, type of work performed, age, sum insured. Because of these variables, I've excluded the insurance fee from my comparison in this video to ensure we are looking at fees that are consistently applied to all members and are also in their ability to control. The last fee is the investment fee, and this is the fee that we're going to take a closer look at, as this is within your control. It is important to note here that the information in this video is for general information and entertainment purposes only, and is not a replacement for professional advice. Okay, now that is said, an investment fee is charged by a super fund to cover the costs incurred with managing your investments within the super fund. Costs can include external investment fees, performance-related fees, transaction fees, and other operational costs, including brokerage. Usually, investment fee is not deducted from your account balance like the admin or insurance fees. Instead, the gross investment return from your investments is reduced by the fee charged. If you're looking at the transactions in your Superfund statement on the front page, it is often not very clear how much investment fees you are being charged. If you flick through the statement until you get to the fees and charge section, you will learn how much the investment fee is that you are paying. At the top of the fee section, you will clearly see direct fee, which is usually just the admin charge. However, in the section beneath, you will see other charges, and these are the charges that are not appearing on your transactions, as they are shown as a reduction of the income earned on your investment instead of a separate fee. I encourage you to take a closer look at your superannuation statement and look at the fees section closely to see if you're getting good value for money. If you're surprised at the investment fees you are being paying in a low fee fund, then remember, all members in a defined contribution account have a choice of their asset allocation and the fees that are paid. The asset allocation can be changed, and you can still achieve lower fees even if you can't change super funds. Diversified or pre-mixed investment allocations usually consist of names like growth, high growth, balance, conservative. Some funds may also call the diversified option with a life stage name such as born in the 1980s or later, or in the 1970s or earlier. If you're in one of these types of funds, you might be paying a higher rate of fees because you're paying for an investment manager to pick the allocation of assets that are invested for you. This is known as active investing. This investment manager picks an asset allocation that is likely to benefit an average person without taking into consideration your specific and unique investment goals. If you're happy for someone else to manage your investment allocations based on the average person, then you can stop here. Happy days, nothing more to do. However, if you're not happy with the asset allocation or the fees you are paying for these options, and they don't suit your overall portfolio goals, then you can say big on picking your own single asset classes instead of the default diversified option, using your own allocation percentages instead. The common single asset class options that most funds have tend to be called cash, fixed interests or bonds, property, Australian equities or shares, international equities or shares. Now you may be wondering, what type of shares does this single asset class option invest in? Well, let's take a look at what is publicly available. If I take a look at Aware Super's Australian shares option, I can see the top 50 shares are shown and represent 78% of investments. They consist of the top listed Australian equities according to their weighting. There are obviously more shares in this investment, but it is very obvious to me that this investment is a passive index tracking the top ASX 300 Australian shares, which is a passive investment approach. After contacting the fund, I found out that the Aware Super actually has this option managed by Vanguard Australian Shares Index Fund, which is great if you want a low cost and passive way of investing your super in something similar to the popular electronic trading fund called VAS or VAS. If I also take a look at the international share portfolio, I can see a similar index of the world's best companies by weighting, which looks similar to a global index tracker. Again, a passive investment option. I was able to confirm as well that this asset class is also managed by Vanguard International Shares Index Fund, which tracks the MSCI World ex-Australia Index of the world's biggest and best international companies, which is similar to a fund called VGS. I encourage you to also take a closer look at what your super fund invests with in the single asset class and get comfortable with it before making any decisions to change. For the types of investments available in your fund, you can find out the detail on their website for the investment class you are interested in. Most funds have this information freely available, but some take a bit more effort to find in the member's benefit statement. So for a comparison of cost, I've calculated the admin and investment fees of 5 of the largest super funds of 2021. I've picked 3 industry super funds, 1 not-for-profit super fund, and 1 retail super fund. I firstly compared the fees of using each of their high growth diversified options or pre-mixed options for a super fund balance of $200,000. As you can see in the graph, the results vary significantly already, and most are quite high. Unfortunately, Host Plus does not currently have a high growth fund to compare with, and the highest growth option that it has is their balanced option. I included Host Plus as I've heard many people choose this fund as the Barefoot Investor mentions it in his popular book, and I felt a comparison would not be complete without it. Naturally, the fees for the balanced option are very low for the fund as it has less growth assets than the rest that I've compared with, which are much more cheaper to operate. Here you can see Colonial First State's high growth option, the only retail super fund I chose, has the most expensive admin and investment fees combined for this option. As your super fund balance will grow far higher in the future than $200,000 in your lifetime, so too will these fees grow larger over time. Now, if we compare these options with a customized mix of single asset class investments of 40% Australian and 60% international equities, the results are very different, as you can see in the graph, when I compare with the previous high growth option. So I think this clearly demonstrates that once you take away the investment manager cost of actively managing your investment allocations, you can clearly see all the funds have significantly lower investment fees. This decrease is from switching from a more active approach to managing investments that has a higher investment fee to a more passive approach that is less expensive that is found in passive index tracking funds. If you are not aware of index fund investing, then I encourage you to watch the video suggested at the top of the screen now to learn more. As you can see, it is very important to consider your current asset allocation and the investment fees you are paying, and I encourage you to take a close look at your fees in your last statement more carefully. If you are not happy with your current fund, then most employees can set up an account with a different fund at any stage. Once you do that, you can request your employer to pay all your future super contributions into your new account by completing the form, following the steps that I've outlined in the video appearing on the screen right now. Most employees are required by law to let their employees choose their own super fund, but check with your employer first.